We all want to save money, and as we head into the new year, it is important to think ahead by having a financial and estate planning discussion with the family. Joining us today with tips is Lauren Drury from Washington Trust. Good morning.
Good morning, Will.
Thanks so much for coming in today. We were talking even before we started today. This can really be a difficult conversation to have with family members, with people who were involved. How do you even start it without starting a battle?
Absolutely. So whenever you're talking to your family about your estate plan, the best advice I have is start talking to them early. Start talking to them about these things when they're kids or as they're growing up, because your estate plan and how you want your legacy to go and how you want your kids to inherit money or anyone else to inherit money is founded in your value system.
Right.
So if you're talking to them all along about the things that are important to you, what's in your estate plan is not going to be a surprise. It really sets the stage for that conversation.
All good. Now you have 5 tips that we're going to go through to start the conversation. So we'll go through them. Number 1, you say, start your story.
Start your story. Like we were saying, make sure that you're telling the story of you and your life and what's important to you, because that'll help the people that are inheriting money from you, usually your kids,
right,
to understand why you're making the decisions you're making. Also, lean into stories about, hey, I want to tell you about our estate plan because I've heard other families that don't have this conversation and things go really badly. People squabble or the kids are surprised.
Right.
And we don't want that to be the case in our family. So
right,
let's start having these conversations, even though we're awkward. Better awkward now than surprises later.
Then later. Number 2 on the list is have a specific plan.
Have your plan in place. So these conversations are difficult. They can be awkward. And if you have even bullets in front of you of the things you want to talk about, say the meeting gets emotional, which it's going to. At least you know, okay, I've had this, I've talked about this piece. Next time we try again, we'll talk about the next one.
Right.
So just know, it's my goal to make sure they know who my estate planning attorney is. Do they know who our wealth advisor is? Do they know where my documents are kept? Maybe those are the starting places. And then you get into how are you going to inherit? How much money is there? Who's
right,
getting the car?
Right.
But keep a list so you don't lose track.
Next on the list, number 3 on the list, use your judgment.
So you know your family best.
The good, bad, and the ugly.
Yes, exactly. Family dynamics are difficult.
Right.
Right? So using your judgment about how to approach this with your family or with the people that are going to be inheriting from you, is it that you want to talk to them together? Is it that you think separate conversations will be best? Use your judgment, little chunks. Whatever's going to work best for your family, keep that in mind. It's probably not a big summit, usually.
Right, right, sure.
You really want to try to meet your family's needs.
One of the other things, explain your reasoning.
And that's what we were talking about in the beginning with your value system, right? Explain why you've made the decisions in your estate plan you have. If you're in a place where you're not going to pass assets out to your heirs directly and maybe they're going to stay in trust,
right,
starting that conversation so they understand why. Maybe it's for liability purposes, or maybe it's just because you want your legacy to pass a little bit longer. Make sure you're explaining your reasoning so they can understand and someone else isn't explaining it later.
Got it. Last on the list here is encourage dialogue. So you want them to kind of talk it over as well, right?
Yeah, you want the feedback. And even if you can tell them, I'm telling you these things about my estate plan, and even if you don't like it, I want to hear why, because maybe there's something I don't understand.
Got it.
And also, say they have a very strong feeling. Say they really do want Great Aunt Hilda's artwork, and you didn't know that, and maybe you could have made that accommodation.
Right.
Have that dialogue, but just know it will be emotional, and that's okay.
Or as you were saying to me earlier, the Hummel effect.
The Hummel effect. Everybody, when they grieve, they grasp onto items, and the Hummel effect is what I've always used. Thank you for that. Where everybody's clamoring for something that maybe you didn't know had meaning, and it does.
Right. All good stuff. Thanks so much. And don't wait till the last minute to do this as well. You can find these discussion tips over at rhodeshow.com.